At 7 o'clock, 7:01. And Kathy Wagner, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And we have Kathy Wagner first on the agenda with Warm Homes and Bring a Dollar to School.
Hello. I'm coming in front of you guys and all of the administrators and everyone to, and again, ask if we could do the Bring a Dollar to School for the Warm Home program. Last year it was a huge success. I think we brought something like $4,000 in from the kids, $4,000 or $5,000 the kids donated to the Warm Homes program. It made them feel like they had some ownership in helping other people in their community. The program was just a quick idea, and I know a lot of questions arose last year because parents and teachers didn't know if they should give more money than just $1 because we wanted it to be something that every kid could participate in that wanted to. I would ask that again, you just send your student with $1. And if you'd like to pledge more money, then you could send a check in, or even, you know, I'll put. I know that there were cans around, and maybe if that's something you want to go in and privately do, but rather than have kids come in with $20 bills and one kid have 4 quarters, I like the idea that it was just $1, so that each child felt that their dollar was just as important as everyone else's, and I think that's what builds community and ownership of the program. To date, just so you everyone's aware, I've helped 30 families, so we've already done 30 families, and again, it's the same issues: unexpected illness, loss of job, change in job, elderly. The elderly have seemed to finally be comfortable calling, so we've assisted quite a few elderly households in Londonderry, and you know, it's a very sad story in their cases. Is here they don't qualify for any assistance by $50, but they don't take into consideration their prescription drug costs and that kind of stuff. So you have somebody that might be laying out $200 in prescription drugs and in prescriptions, and they can't deduct that from their cost of living expenses, so they don't qualify for any state assistance or. And you know, the town does have programs in place, but you do have to meet guidelines. What Warm Homes is just a one-time maximum fill-up of 150 gallons of home heating fuel or the equivalent in whatever type of home assistance you need. And it's for London, and the only criteria is you have to be a Londonderry resident. So, you know, you can call the hotline, 232-9131, or you can go to the website, which is warmhomes.org, if you want to make a donation. If you know anybody, wonderful story from somebody in South School, said their daughter, a young elementary school, so this makes me feel really good, went home and said, "Mommy, I know the people across the street are having problems. Why don't you call? Because I heard about this Warm Homes thing in school because we brought $1 in," and the woman called and the family was having problems, so we just assisted and stuff. So it does work. It does carry down, and it does do the right thing, in my opinion. So I'm asking permission that we could collect the $1 again, the week of December 4th through, what is that, the 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th, I think, Friday, and we would pick the funds up on Friday. A representative of Londonderry Comforts or Warm Homes, one of us would come and pick up. If the teachers or the principals need anything, I know last year they made their own buckets, and you know, and I just was lucky and I showed up and got the envelopes they can do that again, or I do have some warm homes canisters that I can bring in. I have 2 of those, so I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Questions from the board?
So I think everybody's starting to become pros at it, so it's a pretty easy little thing now, so thank you.
Yeah, second annual year. Thank you. Next item we have is the budget presentation. Nate and Peter, and it's literally the presentation of the budget, the first time we get to see the book.
That's right. We'd like to accomplish a couple of things this evening. I'm going to work my way through my budget message, and Peter is going to do the same thing with his. Mine's more the Word part of it. Peter's is more the Excel part of it. And Peter's then is also going to walk you through the format of the book to let you know what's in it and so forth. And that'll be it for the budget today, and then we start in earnest discussion of the budget next Tuesday, and this way it gives everyone an opportunity to go through the document and have their questions and comments ready as we move through. As you'll see too, before I get to we have the budget calendar here, and basically on December 5th, it'll be personnel, special ed, school to career, and library media. The 7th of December, curriculum, the high school, the middle school, athletics, music, kindergarten, the 3 elementary schools. And then on the 14th will be food service, capital leases, central computer, district office, building and grounds. And then the 19th is an open budget date. So we'll be moving in that progression.
Before you begin, now you have books in the back for
Yes.
the staff, and the books in front for the budget committee.
Correct.
For those that, budget committees that aren't present, let them know that you can take them if you wish as the assistant, as the vice chair, sorry, and, or we can have them in the office. It's up to you guys. Now, the press, you have these copies available on CD if anyone from the
Right.
press needs them, and they are in PDF files. So they're not only, you can view them on your computer, you can search on them also.
Absolutely. And every budget book also has a CD in the front cover. So if you prefer to work with a computer as opposed to paper, that's your privilege, and you can use it that way. Also, by starting off, I want to make a couple of general comments, and then I'll move into my budget message. I want to take this opportunity first to thank the administration and staff for all their hard work on the budget. People, I think, did a yeoman's job and put in significant amount of time. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the school board ahead of time for their time and their diligence in going through the budget, and we look forward to their comments. Also want to extend my thanks also to the budget committee, because I know they also spend an enormous amount of time and contribute greatly to this process, and we're looking forward to working with them in another successful budget year. This budget represents our 6th year of matching strategic planning priorities to our financial strategy. This is a continuation of our adopted methodology of how our district initiates, manages, and prioritizes educational and operational needs to financial support structures. The proposed budget is, in essence, a financial picture of our recommended program for the 2007-2008 school year. 6 years ago, our community, using the community engagement process implemented by our Best Schools initiative, identified priorities and what should a graduate know and be able to do. Our strategic plan, on which this recommended budget is based, is an operational representation of those priorities. Our revised and updated strategic plan for 2006-2011 was developed with school board and administration input and the data collected from the first 5 years of our strategic plan. We have translated the priorities into 5 long-term goals, 15 priority areas encompassing 58 objectives, and 571 actions. The goals and priority areas are as follows. Goal 1, ensure that curriculum, instruction, and assessment are designed and delivered to enable diverse learners to achieve or exceed district standards. We identified 4 priority areas: clearly articulate, implement, and assess our curriculum, both horizontally and vertically; ensure curriculum is delivered in accordance with the diverse needs of our student population; base curriculum development instruction on best practice research; and to continuously raise the level of student achievement in meeting or exceeding our district graduation standards. There are a total of 34 objectives and 481 actions associated with these priority areas over the lifetime of our strategic plan, 2006 through 2011. Goal 2, to achieve and sustain the highest level of professional competency of all staff. We have 3 priority areas: ensuring the teachers in all the district schools, programs, and subject areas participate in professional development programs and activities designed to raise student achievement; evaluate regularly and systematically the performance of all instructional staff; and provide ongoing training to professional staff to remain current in their subject matter and specialty areas. There are 11 objectives, 20 actions associated with these priority areas. Goal 3, provide adequate space in order to meet the educational needs of all students. 2 priority areas: update space needs plans for the school district and provide instructional space at the middle and elementary levels. There are 2 objectives and 9 actions associated with these priority areas. Goal 4, to create and maintain two-way communication. 1 priority area: to provide and seek out clear and consistent information among stakeholders. 5 objectives, 19 actions associated with this priority area. Goal 5, create and maintain an efficient and effective organization that supports the district mission. There are 4 priority areas: ensure building and grounds are well maintained, recruit and retain highly qualified professional and support staff, provide easy access and the ability to effectively report information through the appropriate use of technology, and to systematically evaluate the pupil service department's organizational structure. There are 6 objectives and 42 actions associated with these priority areas. To provide you with a framework for reviewing the budget, we have identified in this summary significant initiatives by goal area to assist all those concerned in the important process of reviewing the proposed 2007-2008 budget. Under Goal 1, which is curriculum and assessment, following major foci: continued support of the elementary math program, including online text; continued implementation of the 3-tier reading model; continued implementation of phonemic awareness program; continued implementation of the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills; assessment, K-3, and the online data system. Mark is going to be reporting on that tonight. Continued implementation of the IWAs, continued support for the elementary science program, continued development and refinement of curriculum toolkits at all levels. New and replacement text for Introduction to Business, Pre-Calculus, which will be the second year that we're offering it next year, Calculus, which is a new course, C++, 9th grade English to replace texts that are copyrights 89 and 91, Spanish 3 replacement text, upgrading our CAD software, upgrading the AP Science software to meet AP requirements, Family and Consumer Science text, Grade 8 math text, Grade 7 pre-algebra text replacement, Core Reading Program K through 3, and then I'll get to this a little bit later, but Mark, in his negotiations with the company that we were piloting, which also happens to be the same company that we purchased our elementary math text, was able to get a buy one, get one free. So between this year and 2009, we will save $318,780 on consumables because of the buy one, get one free. 2010, excuse me. Elementary music text, phase 1 in grades 1, 2, and 5. Implementing a college prep calculus, expanding vocational ed opportunities by implementing a vocational counselor position, expanding science opportunities at the high school by hiring an additional science teacher, expansion of accelerated math and reading programs at the middle school, allowing students to enter advanced geometry in grade 9, continued revision and evaluation of science benchmarks, including implementation of thematic science kits, purchase of new kits and materials to meet the new science benchmarks at the middle school, expansion of enrichment and accelerated opportunities at the middle school with the hiring of an additional special curriculum teacher, allowing for increased focus on science and writing, increased staff for the LEAP program due to enrollment and student needs, expanding the Friends program to meet student needs That's one of our special ed programs that addresses youngsters that have autism and pervasive developmental disorders, and establishing a basic academic skills program at the elementary level. Continued implementation of all our career pathways and advanced courses. We are now able to offer 10 AP courses in 13 sections. Continue with the Cisco and Mouse programs, our video production, biotech, Academy of Finance, information technology, PC hardware and networking, programming and software development, interactive media, Project Lead the Way, which is pre-engineering, Future Educators Academy, mass communication, athletic training, and exercise science. Continued support of the School to Career program, including internships. We presently have 40 students in internship programs. Continued implementation of the LIFT program, including collaboration with Alvern. Continued implementation and expansion of the adult ed and alternative ed programs. Continued implementation of the Block Humanities program for at-risk freshmen. Continue with the GED program, and continue with the high school summer school program, as well as the middle school summer school program for at-risk students and or after skill academies, and while we're maintaining the accelerated math summer offerings. The block of programs that I just discussed, I think, is what's extremely important to note, that since we have implemented these programs, we have seen our dropout rate drop. We now have a dropout rate of about 1.8%, which is down from 2 and change that we had previously, and is one of the lowest in the entire state of New Hampshire. And by the way, those at-risk programs and alternative programs, though we have money for them in the budget, the net cost to the district is in the neighborhood of about $11,000 because of the tuitions that we pull in. So if you want to talk about cost-effective programming that has changed the lives of innumerable kids, you couldn't ask for better. Institute the summer enrichment programs at elementary, middle, and high school levels. Continue elementary school summer programs, including a component for at-risk students entering first grade. Maintaining the tech-rich high school programs. Continue promotion and increased participation of students at Manchester Institute of Technology and Alvern Vocational Center. We presently have 118 students participating in those programs. We have 12 students participating in the Bridges program, which Mike Dolphin spoke to the board about several meetings ago. Continued support for Project Challenge in conjunction with Riviera College. The continued implementation of our college articulation agreements. At present, as the board is aware, we have 10 college articulation agreements now, enabling graduates of our high school attending those schools to qualify for significant scholarships. Continued support, continued implementation and utilization of the Spectrum workbooks in grades 6 and 7. Continued support for More Than Words. Continued support for the Middle School Brown Center program. Continued implementation and expansion of the Action Research Model. Continued implementation of instructional initiatives at the middle school. Continued implementation of math grouping procedures, including accelerated opportunities at the middle school. Continued support for the PBIS program at all the elementary schools. Appropriate funding levels for instruction and general supplies. Continue to absorb funding for elementary after-school tutoring programs due to loss of federal funding. Continued implementation and expansion of in-house special ed programs, including emotionally handicapped, multisensory, pervasive developmental disorder, autism, Asperger's, and developmental disabilities. Continued implementation of grade-level case manager model. Continued implementation of three-tier reading intervention, reading in the content areas, and the Lindemood phoneme sequencing program. Funding of special ed tuition and transportation based on out-of-district placements. Align information and computer technology, curriculum, resources, and practices with the new state standards. Continued funding for Destination Imagination. Continued funding of elementary and middle school special curriculum programs. Replacement and new equipment for music and band programs, including a baritone sax, which is 28 years old, and 1 sousaphone for the marching band, and 2 French horns, and 3 turtle doves for the middle school due to increased enrollment. Those items to be purchased through the lease. Maintain the band uniform replacement cycle, the athletic uniform replacement cycle. Replacing soccer goals at the middle school and purchasing a field hockey training machine. Maintain funding for athletic programs and absorb increased rates for pool and ice time. And provide appropriate staffing levels at all schools to meet instructional and support needs by redeployment and or the elimination of positions, instructional, special ed, and clerical, and institute or expand cost avoidance options on special ed. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the next section, which is subsections of what I just talked about. We are recommending in this budget a number of positions which we are calling cost avoidance positions, because that are going to save the district money instead of sending students out of district, and we believe be able to provide a better brand of programming in-house than they could get out of district. The additional positions that we're looking at is a district-wide behavioral specialist, which would work basically a pre-K through 12, particularly with youngsters with PDD, autism, and emotional handicaps. A half of a LEAP teacher, 20% of a LEAP speech therapist, 20% of a district-wide physical therapist, 2 3-hour assistants for the LEAP program, 4 6-hour assistants for the Friends 2 program. The above positions have a direct cost avoidance of $330,797. Okay? Looking at contracted service of $65,360, out-of-district placements of $362, transportation of $72,000, reducing that by the $169,063 for salaries and benefits to the above position. By putting these positions in, we are avoiding $330,000 of other expenses. Second tier, drop or adding swap, budget impact of minus $134,780. New or redeployed positions, a full-time high school science teacher to meet the needs that we have at the high school for science, 1 vocational counselor, 1 middle school special curriculum teacher, half of an educational support teacher at Moose Hill for reading, 30% of a high school media specialist to bring us to 3 full-time high school media specialists, 3 hours of clerical time at LEAP, 1 hour of clerical time for the high school special ed program, an assistant lacrosse coach at the high school, and 2 assistant coaches, 1 for track and 1 for cross country at the middle school. To pay for these, to cover these positions, we're doing the following based on enrollment and student needs. We are dropping 5 elementary positions, 2 at South, 2 at Matthew Thornton, and 1 at North School. 12 hours of instructional assistant time, which are associated with those positions, 5 hours at South, 4 hours at Matthew Thornton, and 3 hours at North. 4 hours of clerical time, 3 hours of that at Matthew Thornton, and 1 hour at the middle school by moving a full year position to 210 days, and half of an educational support teacher, which was in the budget. Half of a reading teacher at the high school. We believe we can accommodate our needs with the present staffing, and intramural salaries of $5,000. The net for the drop, add, and swap positions listed above is a net savings of $164,780. It's also important to note that the elementary positions that we have dropped will still allow us to maintain class sizes at the primary level at about 20, 21, and class sizes grades 4 and 5 at about 23, 24, depending on how the numbers flop. Also, too, we will not be getting, we don't believe, additional monies in IDEA. That's our federal grant for special education. So right now, we are looking at moving a IDEA transfer of 1 full-time occupational therapist into our general fund budget, $35,000. All of the positions above, all the positions that I've talked about, including the cost avoidance special ed positions and the transfer of an IDEA position to the general fund budget, represent a net increase of $69,283. However, when the cost avoidance figure is calculated into all of the above, the staffing additions, swaps, and drops nets a cost avoidance of $293,217. We will also be redeploying special ed personnel based on specific student needs. A district-wide MSP teacher will be going to the new elementary BAS program. 6 assistant hours from South will be going to the middle school. 30% of a speech person and 24 hours of assistant, and 1.5 teachers from the middle school to the high school for the PDD, the ACT program, and self-contained programs. Goal 2, to achieve and sustain the highest level of professional competency. We're looking to continue the implementation of the Teacher Supervision and Evaluation Program, continued implementation and refinement of the Teacher Induction Institute, continued funding of the Teachers Academy, funding of staff development opportunities for certified and support staff as per contract and in conjunction with the Professional Development Master Plan, continuation of distance learning opportunities, training for new and present employees in operational software, continued implementation of the on-site master's program in collaboration with Riviera College. And it's important to remind everybody, too, that by having our staff participate in the master's program, they're only paying 2/3 of the normal tuition cost. So that's a benefit to the district and obviously a benefit to the staff members. Continue with the action research activities and funding for staff development, including but not limiting to curriculum toolkits, web design, DIBBLES, the core reading program, enrichment clusters, 6 traits, connected math, reading in the content areas, Danielson, social studies, science realignment and benchmarks, online teacher resource center, high school literacy committee, Scott Forsman social studies, Scott Forsman math, cognitive coaching, technology integration, tech-rich, benchmarks, differentiated instruction, cross-grade level meetings, and advanced placement. Continued implementation and enhancement of the Disability Institute and Special Ed Induction Program. Continued expansion of revised supervision and evaluation system for related services. Continued implementation of our Special Ed Case Manager Handbook and training for same, and the continuation of the 405 observation model. Goal 3, provide adequate space in order to meet both the educational needs of all students and effective operation. Funding for maintenance projects to include but not be limited to things such as at the high school as carpeting the ramp, air conditioning room 412, paint the ductwork, room renovations, painting, refinishing the gym floor. Middle school, replacing exterior cafeteria doors, the 8th grade wing door hardware, refinishing the gym floors, replacing some floor tiles, painting main lobby quarry tile and acid wash, replacing wall pads in the gym, electric winches for the backboards, refinishing the stage floor, and replacement windows in the 8th grade wing. And Matthew Thornton, carpeting, classroom doors, replacement carpet and floor tile in the back hall, bathroom stalls, vinyl drywall, painting, some door installation, and a curb cut for a wheelchair. South School, replacing the existing doors. North School, painting some classrooms and hallways. District-wide, funding for replacement and additional custodial equipment, continuation of the energy management program. The board and members of the Budget Committee are probably aware, but I think it's worth repeating. During the past 6 years, because of the Energy Management Education Program, we have realized a cost avoidance and savings of over $1,500,000. Anticipated cost avoidance for 2007-2008 for energy is $300,000. We are using less kilowatts of electricity, less therms of natural gas, and less fuel oil than 6 years ago, even though we have increased our square footage by 30%. We're also, the budget, we'll also increase coordination with the town on grass mowing, with net savings to the district of approximately $30,000 and a net savings to the taxpayers both on the town and school side of $5,000. You'll also see in the lease there's some money for some equipment. Absorb increased rates for fuel oil, and we do anticipate increases in sewer fees. We have avoided a 20% increase in phone service by changing vendors. That's worth $18,000 a year. We continue to accommodate the costs associated with after-school hours use of school facilities and fields. We continue to average 150 events inside the buildings and over 100 athletic games and practices by school and recreational groups on a weekly basis. During the week of October 30th, we had 257 events on school property. And I'd also like you to note that our building and maintenance department maintains 687,382 square feet of building space. Okay. Goal 4, create and maintain two-way communication. Transfer of 3 hours of clerical time to the LEAD program, adding an additional hour to the high school SPED secretary, continued funding for the Insider Press, Leo 21, and WLLOP, accent on achievement. Also, continued funding and staffing for the district website and implementation of Parent Resource Center on the website, continued implementation of training for teacher and expanded web page design, continued implementation of the Communications Toolkit, funding for release days and substitutes for cross-grade level meetings, sharing of data analysis between and among schools, including curriculum alignment and activities, continued funding for WINGS, our internal newsletter, maintenance of the online policy book, continued funding for materials and publications and informational meetings, implement phase 1 of the new student management system, and continued implementation of teacher blogs for the Induction Institute, and the possibility of putting in an emergency phone system. Goal 5, to create and maintain an efficient and effective organization. Funding of maintenance trust is recommended to continue with the upgrading and preventative maintenance of our school facilities. Funding for modest implementation and replacement cycle for furniture and equipment. Continued funding of the Human Resources Department to continue initiatives in recruiting and retaining qualified professional and support staff. Implementation of phase 1 of the student management system. Continuation of an institution of cost savings and cost avoidance actions. And I'd like to go through these numbers, and I'm going to go through them slowly because I think they are very, very significant. And I'm going to preface this by saying when I talk about the special ed programs, I think the programs that we're offering are far and away superior to what the youngsters would be getting out of district. The emotionally handicapped program, cost avoidance for next year, $377,687. That's the difference between what we're paying for staff and what we would have to pay to send the kids out of district to out-of-district placements and transportation. Cost avoidance for that program over the 5 years that we've run the program, $1,822,090. The Friends 2 program, which is our program for youngsters with autism and PDD. Cost avoidance for next year, $477,235. The cost avoidance for the 2 years, in the year that we've run it this year and what it will be combined next year, $779,268. The energy education program that I've mentioned previously, $300,000 cost avoidance next year, $1.5 million over the past 6 years. Phone system, we switched phone vendors this year. The board remembers Chuck had mentioned that. That's going to be a cost avoidance next year of $18,000. E-rate, Sue is great in putting together the E-rate application. Cost avoidance and savings, $25,339. The joint mowing, cost avoidance for next year, $30,000. The net savings to the taxpayers, $5,000 between what the school is going to be spending and what the town. Mark's negotiation with Scott Forsman, math and reading, his buy one, get one free through 2010, $318,728. That's an average of $79,000 a year. We are recommending to reducing 2 buses for the 08 school, fiscal year 08. That's a savings of $75,000. The non-special ed staffing adjustment, $134,780. Special ed staffing's cost avoidance, including the absorption IDEA program, $295,797. We're also, under this goal, looking to update the high school gym security system, continue the redeployment and purchase of hardware based on job and instructional specs, replacement of 4 servers with 3, continual implementation of the technology implementation template, improve remote access for staff to facilitate completion of work, purchasing 35 Macs to replace aging outdated computers at the elementary level, purchasing 107 PCs to replace the 70 Power Leaps at the high school and middle school, and 30 for the computer lab at the middle school, and replace 7 administrative workstations. 3 replacement computers for video production, transfer and redeployment of staff to meet enrollment and/or specific student needs, purchasing 3 laser printers, 2 for the middle school library and 1 for the high school library. We're also recommending the establishment of a computer music lab at the high school and 2 new iMacs for the video production program. Final comments. The general fund budget that we are presenting to you tonight is $59,549,805, which is $31,389 below the default budget. The proposed budget represents an increase of $3,182,093, or a 5.65% increase from the current operating budget. It's also important to note that we are presently in negotiations with the support staff bargaining unit, and any salary benefit increases are not reflected in this budget, but will be reflected in a separate warrant article. Approximately 93% of the 5.65%, or $2.9 million, of the increase, which is 5.26% of the total budget increase, are a result of salaries and benefits. Thus, increases in other accounts amount to $214,707 of the total budget. This year again, as in the past, we are extremely mindful of the state funding situation and the fact that the legislature is basically under court order to define, cost out, and fund a constitutionally adequate education. As is indicated in the business administrator's memo, we are still at this point operating under the HB 616. Thus, the revenue figure that we are using is $15,536,519, which is the figure we are given by the Department of Education. This represents an increase over the $12,812,000 which we received this year. It is impossible to say at this juncture what the revenue figure will be for the FY08 fiscal year until the legislature, hopefully, completes the work and develops a constitutionally appropriate funding bill. We have put the $15 million in because those are the figures we've been given by the Department of Ed. I cannot guarantee that it's going to be that number, or it's going to be more, or it's going to be less. We have to wait to see what happens in the legislature. We believe that the actions this school district has taken as a member of New Hampshire Cafe, and thanks to the leadership of Steve Young, we will prevail and we will get a constitutionally appropriate bill that funds education appropriately for all students across the state. We're hoping that the legislature does that and it doesn't wind up in the court's lap. But the legislature now has the remainder of the next year, up to June 30th, to do that. To address the above issue, we worked diligently with the administrative staff and reduced their initial request by $692,459. We continue to eliminate, reduce, or redeploy positions based on enrollment and need, including instructional, related service, clerical, and assistance. This is in addition to a multitude of cost avoidance and cost savings initiatives that I have mentioned previously. The above cost savings programs and actions have a total cost avoidance for FY08 of $1,382,949. Or if we translate it based on the present assessed value, that would represent 41 cents on the tax rate. We believe the budget proposal for 2007-2008 school year does translate the initiatives in our strategic plan, enabling us to provide an increased level of services to our students and community, maintain existing programs, meet state and federal requirements at below average state per pupil cost, based on the most recent state figures, which are 2004-2005. In fact, we're $250 below the average state cost, and will assist us in fulfilling our motto, giving wings to children's dreams. The budget process is an important one. The budget, although it is made up of numbers, is really a financial picture of what our district's priorities are and what we hope to accomplish. We look forward to discussions with the school board and the budget committee regarding the proposed budget, and we are sure that all of us will be working cooperatively to put our best foot forward and provide youngsters with a program that's appropriate, that reflects excellence, and respects financial restrictions and supports. For that, I'd like to turn it over to Peter. You awake there, Pete?
I'm wide awake.
Okay, there you go.
My memo to the financial impact follows the superintendent's report. It's mainly, as Nate mentioned, mainly lots of numbers and figures. The beginning of it states the general impact of the overall budget. I talk in sections on revenue and then a little more detail on expenditures. The only couple areas I want to mention at this time, and then I want to talk about the additional warrant articles other than the operating budget. On the second page, I have a chart, one that says state and local education and property taxes. It kind of gives you a snapshot of where local and state property taxes have gone the last several years. The reason I start with 1998, that was the last year prior to the Claremont decision, where a state property tax and adequacy granting was introduced, and then showed you, through the years, how the local education and state education taxes have followed sequential years. Chart 2 is as it says, just lays out the funding of the state adequacy grant funds. If you see on 2005, we received just over $15 million, and then HB 616 was introduced, and we were level funded at 12.8. And then as Nate mentioned in his message, at the current moment, the state has given us just over a $15 million number to use for adequacy grant funding. And as Nate mentioned, we're pretty sure that number's going to change. We just don't know if it's going to go up or down and by how much. But that's the only number we're really able to use. And then on the next page on Table 1, I show a more detail of state revenues, breaking it out in catastrophic, school building aid, the adequacy grant, property tax, Medicaid, and so forth. To kind of give, since the state revenue is obviously the largest picture of, other than local property taxes, the largest portion of revenue that support the general operations. From there, I just want to go over briefly, since Nate had, as he always does, goes over the detail of the general operating budget, some of the other articles that are mentioned in the tax calculation spreadsheet. In addition to the general fund budget, as it has been in the past few years, there's a maintenance trust request of $400,000. That's on page 567. We'll be discussing this in more detail in the December 12th meeting. For those who are not aware, the maintenance trust is a non-lapsing fund used for large maintenance projects such as boilers, roofing, paving, etc. Non-lapsing simply means that at the end of the year, unlike the general fund where it lapses and it must be returned to the taxpayers, we are able to keep funds and roll over funds from year to year. And in do so, we actually do reserve a small dollar amount, usually in the $30,000 range, for unanticipated emergencies that might come up in building maintenance. For example, I think during the last few years, we kept $30,000 in reserve for the North School and South School portables in case something came up that we weren't aware of or couldn't anticipate. At this moment, we have not had a petition article, but we do believe that the field committee will be requesting or submitting a petition article of $250,000, and that would be discussed probably at the January 4th general budget workshop meeting. As Nate mentioned, currently the ASME Local 1801, or as we know it, Support Staff Bargaining Unit, is in negotiations. Any of the cost items associated with an agreement, should one be coming, will be contained in a separate warrant article, and no increases in salaries or benefits are showing up in the general fund. The South School Space Needs Committee will be submitting a request to the school board for an additional $200,000 to finish the plans for construction renovations at South School. This past year, we have been working to put together a conceptual design of what new construction and renovations what new construction and the plan would look like, and some possible renovations. We'll be coming to the school board on the December 12th meeting and presenting the work that we've done so far. And as to the best estimate we have is that the $200,000 that we've talked about is the appropriate number that we'll be asking in March to finish the plans and then present for a warrant article for a bond issue in the following year. However, in addition to the $200,000 for South School, the administration feels it would be appropriate to ask for an additional $25,000 of architectural fees to look at appropriate space for SPED programs district-wide. We thought, since we've engaged Frank Marinese, who's been our architect, along with to work with South School, is probably appropriate at the time to kind of take a back step and look at the requirements of the SPED programs and see what additional renovations might be needed in order to support the programs district-wide. And if any space requests are needed, we may be looking at piggybacking on the South School bond article to providing additional space should it become necessary. Also, there is in addition to the capital lease, general budget is the capital lease request of $606,000. This funding request is for large capital needs, usually technology and maintenance equipment. The lease agreement will not affect this budget. As we know, we borrow in arrears. The lease agreement detail is printed on page 543 and will be discussed in the December 14th meeting. However, I just want to make, we'll talk about this on Tuesday. In the lease, there are several items from individual presenters that have items in the lease. So when the high school or middle school, whatever, come up and do their individual budgets, it is probably appropriate to go through the lease and identify the items that are in the lease for the middle school or high school or whatever the presenter is. What I want to do here is just focus now and go through the format of the budget. It's pretty much the same as the last several years, but it's appropriate this time to go through it quickly, and so everyone has a feel for how the budget book is laid out. The budget book contains tabs for general information documents that's found in the front, individual building program budget and requests. Then at the back is special revenue, food service, and then the capital lease. On page 1 is the calendar, as Nate has pointed out. The items in bold are dates set by our charter, and those are the dates that cannot be changed. On page 7 is a budget analysis, which walks you through the budget, the building of the budget, starting from the current year, and then it shows you increase and decreases in the superintendent's proposed budget, and then the column alongside of it shows you the increases and decreases from the current budget, the building, the default budget, all the way down to the final numbers. On page 9 is the state form for the default budget. Even though we are not officially an SB2 school district, the way we vote in our appropriations in the charter kind of mimics or follows SB2. So what we've done is to kind of show everybody how we calculated the default budget. Is Anita and I agreed that we would fill out this form and show pretty much how the default budget's calculated as if we were an SB2 town, and I think we did that last year, and we'll do that every year. On page 13, we show the account structure. I gotta get this. I apologize for the small print, but we try to get it all on one page. Just to let you know, the account structure is set by the Department of Education. The function numbers and the object codes or whatever are all provided by the Department of Ed, and we follow the account structure of the state of New Hampshire. Starting on page 15, we have budget variance reports. The first one is by function. That's on page 15. That's strictly a function summary, as you can see. And then as you go down on page 19, this is the standard format where those of you that see expenditure reports, it's function rolled up by object code, which is, as I said, when we give the quarterly financial reports, this is the format that's generally used. And then on page, if I can get there, 31, it's by object code district-wide. So just review, function is who's making the appropriation request or expenditure, regular ed, special education, buildings and grounds, central computers. Object code is what's being spent, textbooks, supplies, equipment, salaries, benefits. So it's kind of a cross-tab, or the budget's sliced two different ways, so you can look at both ways, or whichever way you think gives you a clearer picture of what's going on in the budget. The next section we talk about is starting on page 37, we do budget comparison reports. And this just simply shows last year's actuals, current year budgets, the administration, superintendents, the fall budget, and then the board budget is obviously zero until the board finalizes their budget. And again, we break it down into, by function, and I believe function object. And just kind of gives you an idea of how we went from the administration's budget, current budget, administration, and superintendent's budget. We have then on page 55 is the current school district debt schedule. On the principal payments, interest payments, and then the lease payments are on the bottom. We have the full, on page 61, we have the full document of the Town of Londonderry Capital Improvement Plan, just for review. I missed something. And probably the most important document, or one of the few in the book, on page 3, it has the tax rate calculation spreadsheet, which starts off, as always, with state aid, with revenues, state aid and local revenues, followed by the general fund, special warrant articles, calculates the tax rate at different points. At the moment, even though the state property tax hasn't been set yet either, as well as the adequacy grant, which is unusual, they did tell us to use, that they believe that the state property tax would be set at $2.24. What you have here is not $2.24, it's the local ratio of what $2.24 of state property tax would calculate for us. And again, that's an estimate, but many believe, at least for the moment, using HB 616 numbers, that would be the number that would be set.
All set?
I'm all set.
Want to thank the board, budget committee, and administration for your patience in listening to our presentation, and we look forward to our discussions over the next month and a half. If at any time you have any questions between now or any time in the budget process, please feel free to give us a buzz. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate and Peter. So the next time we get together will be December 5th at 7 o'clock in this room, and we'll have the Budget Committee set up front, and appreciate your participation in it. The documents, again, are available on CD for the press as PDF files. Also, I'm sure that we'll have a copy of the budget book at the library, so it can be reviewed. And I imagine it didn't look that large, so I'm sure it'll be online also. Not that it doesn't look large. The file looked small.
There you go. And just one other thing, too, as you go through the budget and go through the sections, you'll see the executive summary, and in almost every instance, the executive summaries include cross-reference with strategic plans, so you'd be able to see what goal or priority area it ties into, and the justification for the recommendation. So that's there, too, so that'll help you frame it as you go through each individual department or school. So you'll have that, and it tends to hit the highlights. So new requests are all included in there, and so on and so forth. So you'll have a narrative, then you'd be able to compare that, and see how that narrative lays out number-wise in the succeeding pages. There we go.
All right, thank you. Before we go to the consent agenda, we are going to move the discipline reports up,
Yes, thank you.
since we caught them all by surprise.
Yes. Katie and Art, and then we'll go to Blake.
Katie, this only happens in your first meeting.
Art Salidas and I are here to present the first quarter discipline report to the board. We're excited to let you know that quarter one of Londonderry High School discipline report came out very low as far as comparing it to last year's quarter one numbers. We are off to a positive start, and we want to just extend our thank yous to the staff, the administration team, and Mr. Alfronte. Everybody's been working very hard, been supportive, very visible throughout the school building, which is making our job a little bit easier, and it's been a nice start to the building. Also, big thanks to the Londonderry High School students. They've started off the year very positive and respectful, and the atmosphere in the building is fun and energetic, and we're all there having a good time. Two big goals that we, as the administration team, have worked on this year have been truancy and respect with the students. And as you see through our report, our numbers are significantly down compared to last year's numbers. Examples would be cutting class, leaving school, truancy, the disrespectful behavior, and failure to attend detentions all show that the numbers are down as far as the first quarter has started. We worked very hard working together as administration team to be visible and have a no tolerance policy with the students, and this quarter has been very successful with them. Any questions from the board?
That's my job. Questions from the board? Just trying to make you feel comfortable your first time.
Right? Couple bonus things, if I would add on to this, that we're very proud of, is the total number of discipline incidences are down 51% compared to last year's quarter. 93% of students at Londonderry High School are not involved in any discipline incidences this year so far. And I have to give a big thanks to our alternative programs, because some of our targeted kids who we had in the day program who might have been issues with discipline now have the opportunity to go to alternative programs, which have really helped them out and have been very successful in those programs as well.
Ron?
The repeat offenders, the 19, how does that compare to last year? Are we making progress?
Yes. If you ask another question, I'll have it.
I'll ask Katie a question for filler then. You just made a statement that said because we have an alternative program for the students, it made the environment easier for the others. What do you think would happen if we just made them stay in the classroom till they were 18? That was just a filler question. I didn't.
Give me a second,
That's-
and I'll look that one up too.
Oh, hello. Yeah, if we could get them to stay in the classroom till they were 18, but, I mean, a lot of the kids that are problems can't function in a normal classroom. We've got programs for them. If you take a kid who absolutely doesn't want to be there, and then say, you got to be there, these numbers won't be the same.
Right, but we have the alternatives for them.
To answer your question, Ron, last year, repeat offenders, first term, there were 26. This time around, there's 19.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Paul?
The repeat offenders, do they typically have connections to anything going on at school? Curricular activities, after-school activities, anything? Are they typically kind of disengaged?
Are they involved in any of our extracurricular activities?
And anything beyond the regular classes?
Off the top of my head, the students I deal with, no.
We do try to get them involved with something, and if we can get them involved with something, that's always a positive, whether it's music, athletics, student council, or anything. They've got, they've got a hold there. But typically, no. If we do get them involved with things and we do get a hold of them, then they'll come off of that list, too.
And I will add in, we have a strong support system for these kids, like these targeted kids who are repeat offenders. We've done a nice job in surrounding them with the support team. So we are helping them try to get someplace and do some activities after school, whether whatever it would be, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but we're trying.
The cutting class, like, is off the, like, fell off a cliff. Was there a change in procedure there, or is there something, put your finger on, and how that?
Wish I absolutely knew the answer, and I don't, other than we're very diligent with kids, and we'll identify the kids, like from last year, that are possible skippers, and we'll be on the lookout for them. And we work very well together, so if we see somebody that we kind of know he's supposed to be going towards the science wing, and he's kind of like taking a right into the calf, we'll go knuckle him and get him to class before it's a cut. So, and once you start doing that with the kids, they know that they've either got to be really sneaky and really good at it, or they just might as well go to class. You know,
The one good thing I like hearing from the kids is like, you're everywhere. And that's a good thing, because I think the visibility of the administration team is everywhere. We're not sitting in our offices, and we're in the hallways, and the kids are seeing us everywhere in the building, so I think that helps a lot too.
They're out there. One of the only categories I had a slight uptick was possession of drugs. Was that driven by a particular incident, or was that several things going?
there were 2 incidents, and there were a lot of kids that were somewhat involved, and we managed to go, and we managed to make contact with every single kid that was involved, which is, which is great. The numbers reflect that. But there were actually only 2 incidents.
Okay. That says a lot.
Yeah,
These are great statistics. I mean, last year we were getting great statistics from you folks, and these are still even more terrific, so congratulations.
I think,
I have to, remember last year you asked us when we passed the breathalyzer policy to use this time also to talk about using the breathalyzer. So before I do that, I do want to throw my 2 cents in to congratulate and thank our assistant principal team, who in some way is directly responsible for these numbers. Our student body, probably mostly because of their amazing spirit and attitude towards school, and also our teaching staff, because they're the ones that are in the classroom with the kids, and if the kids are engaged, enjoying the classes, these numbers will continue to fall. And so I want to give kudos to them. As far as the breathalyzer goes, as I promised last year, we were going to form a logbook. One side of the logbook is training, the other side is use. I am happy to report that the training side has stuff written in it, and I'll let you tell you about it. And the use side has nothing written in it. We've had 3 dances, and not to say dances would be the only time that we would use the breathalyzer, but we've had 3 outstanding dances with no issues at all. We continue to do the same things that we've always done. Have lots of chaperones, have 3 administrators at every dance, be at the door of the entry, circulate around, make sure that all the doors are watched, continually monitor the bathrooms and the hallways during the dances. So what we're doing is the same. We have been very fortunate this year that we've had no reason to use the breathalyzer, or have not had to even have any suspensions or investigations of alcohol use at any of our dances. So we're very happy to report that. As far as the training goes, we've had a number of training sessions. Our first training session was really, when we received the 2 breathalyzers, was to sort of read the book and self-train, just to get a feel for it, and we did that over the summertime. Then we had an extensive training session with the Londonderry Police Department. Mike Corral and our school resource officer heading that up. We once again had a second training with the police department just before school started. So we actually had 3 trainings before school started. And then the first week in November, we had the trainer from AccuBlow come to Londonderry High School. And he spent time with all the assistant principals, myself, and Officer Childs to go through an extensive training, any questions that we've had or any things that we wanted to know about it. So we feel very comfortable in the use of it. We will continue to be happy if we don't have to use it in live action. So I just wanted to give you that report, and once again, at the second quarter or the halfway mark, we'll update you on this. Any questions on that, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions from the board? Jim,
Yep.
you brought up during your conversation the dances and how well they've gone. The video that we have turned on in the school during the day, that's active during the dances too, correct?
We have video cameras running 24/7, including in the cafeteria. To be honest, it would be very difficult to pick up video at the dance, because certainly the dances are darker than, say, during lunchtime. It is nighttime, you don't have the inside lights.
But you mentioned the hallways and...
But the hallways are, I think the best, the good news about dances, there are plenty of adults there with their eyes open, and that's probably even better than any cameras, because I think that's even more of a deterrent. But the kids are just doing an excellent job. The message seems to have been received by our students. Not only has there been no issues of alcohol, but it just seems like it's a more appropriate, pleasant atmosphere than in past years at the dances. And then, and I give credit to the kids, because to be honest, we're really not doing anything differently. So the message is out there, and it's an appropriate social event for our high school age students.
Thank you. Ron?
Jim, how many people are trained on the breathalyzers? Is it the whole administrative team, or how far down do we go with the administrative team?
Just the 4 assistant principals
And yourself?
and myself, the resource officer. We have 2 interns who are interning in administration, going for their degrees. They are involved in training, but they're not involved in, if they ever had to, they wouldn't be the ones using it. We're just exposing them to it as part of their course requirements. But they would not be, we would not have them, if we had any live incidences, use them. But we thought it would be appropriate to have them involved in their training.
Would that also include the resource officer? He would
Yeah,
not be
Officer
involved?
Charles is, he's trained in it, okay? But the assistant principals and myself
Would get the test,
would be
okay.
doing the test. Just the 5 of us would be instructed to do it at a school event.
Thank you.
One more question on a separate subject?
Sure.
Probably don't have the answer for this one. Attendance policy. How is that working, and how does the numbers track over the last couple of years on something like that? That's something you come back with, but I'm just curious with the administrative failures, how are we looking with that, or is it achieving our goal of keeping the children in the classroom?
On the surface, I would say, just by what we had to do with the number of appeals, the number of appeals are down.
Okay,
It has become less and less of a task as the years have gone by. So I think the kids are finally getting it. We've made some changes in that, like if for vacation, if you're gonna take one of the 3 vacation days, you have to submit that ahead of time. If you're going for a college visit, we want some proof of that. And the kids have complied with that, and it hasn't been a problem. But Katie can figure out the number of E's from last year and this term, and she can get that to you. We can take care of that. That's not
All right, thank you.
Ron, just being the new one on the board, I think, I love our attendance policy, and I like that we have when kids choose to cut classes, I think that's why the numbers are a little bit down as well, because as part of our attendance policy, if they cut a class, they can't appeal as well. So that sends a strong message about how we feel about not getting to class and being able to come appeal later on. And the students know that very well.
I also think we have it, you cut a class, you can lose your parking permit or the privilege of it. I think we've had 1 this year, which doesn't mean that we're not catching them, which it means is they got the message and that we've actually pulled. So I think that is for a junior and a senior, I can tell you that's the one thing that every junior and senior wants, and that's the parking permit. So the sophomores, we tell them that, well, we'll put you on the list for next year when you apply. And it's really working. Freshmen have no idea what a parking permit is yet. Thank God.
Good thing. Great, thank you. Oh, Ron,
One more. Another one is dress code. How do we, how is that being implemented, and how are we doing with,
It was a chilly fall, it was nice. We didn't come back to any of the real hot weather. I think we maybe had one day where we said, geez, we're gonna have to watch it tomorrow. And the kids are catching on with that. So the weather helped too, so it's tough to say because we did have a cooler fall. And we had some rainy weather and that just, you know. Yeah, and usually we will address it, somebody will see them and we'll just, I would say 50% of the time, 60% of the time, we catch your kids coming off the bus and saying, I'm not sure. Girl will say, oh, well, I've got something in my backpack. And they take care of it.
I
Same
also
thing
think
with
the
you.
change of fashion is helping. Not that I'm a fashion expert. Teenage daughters, but for some reason, the blouses are getting longer again and not shorter. And I want to thank everybody in the fashion industry for that.
It hasn't been as bad at all. We still have a few, but, you know, nothing like it was.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blake?
We'll go back to my filler question.
Good evening, folks. Things continue to go remarkably well in our discipline programming. As I mentioned in my cover letter to the superintendent, we have had 11 out-of-school suspensions, which is up 2 from last year. You know, percentage-wise, we're still infinitesimally small. However, we're concerned about that. 2 of the suspensions happened to take place because of fights that took place right outside of Andy's office. His cafeteria kids come outside, and Andy caught him. So it's all his fault that the number's up by 2. We have, however, had 30 fewer in-school suspension incidences, down from 42 to 30 fewer than that. And again, the teachers and the staff and the kids are doing a great job with that. We've had a total of 31 students be disciplined this year in any fashion, 4 of whom, well, I can't say that, 6 of whom were repeat offenders, meaning they've had more than one incident, 4 of whom are kids that we are concerned about and work with on a regular basis. But that number is down as well. And 24 of those students happen to be in the 7th grade. As we've talked in the past, 6th graders are terrified. 8th graders don't want to get in trouble because they don't want to lose DC and other things. 7th graders are still in that middle of the road, but we're making great progress there as well. The numbers are down across the board. We are visited almost weekly, certainly, it seems like daily, by people from other school districts, by teachers who are coming in to do observations, by college students who are coming in to get class time, and invariably the theme that all of them share with us is the positive attitude expressed by kids and by staff. Staff is visible, staff is working with kids on a regular basis. They're with the kids on a moment-to-moment, time-to-time, class-to-class time frame. The kids don't have time to be goofing off. We had a gentleman who came in to present a positive behavioral intervention program, which we're in the process of working through and evaluating to see how it fits our needs. And he asked how many people have had a disruptive behavior in your class this year. About 11 to 12 hands went up. He expected 80. He said every middle school in the state that he works with, and he works with a lot of them, 80% of their teachers report disruptive behaviors. We had 10 teachers. And some of that's defined by your own definition of what disruptive is. Our teachers deal with it on a regular basis. Our housemasters put together an incident report over the summer that calls for detailed reporting to us so that we can respond more appropriately when it gets to our level. The kids are doing a great job, responding beautifully. Staff is terrific. I think the administration has been firm, fair, and consistent, and I think it shows up everywhere we go. I'd like to think some of that attitude is going up to the high school. They're certainly doing a great job up there as well. I hope there's some carryover from what we're trying to establish down here.
Questions?
Last year you put in the attendance policy.
Yes.
Is that working?
It's working extremely well. And I will put together some numbers for you, Ron. Last year, in the first quarter, we had 7 incidences of working with what we call the E, the administrative failure. All 7 were appealed. And for a variety of reasons, we adjusted here and there and monitored. We had 1 this year. The parent appealed. It was denied because of some very specific circumstances involving not truancy, tardiness. And it's worked extremely well. Our tardies are down a great deal. I had a family apply in writing to go out to California for 3 days for a wedding, family opportunity. Of course, we were going to say yes. The daughter didn't want to go because she didn't want to get punished by losing some grades. 8th grade kid who's a straight A student. Obviously, we let her go, and she had a great time. But the kids have gotten the message, parents are getting the message. It's made a very positive impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blake.
Thanks, Blake. Back to the consent agenda. So moved.
Second?
First by Dan and second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. The upcoming meetings, we have December 5th at 7 o'clock, budget workshop. December 7th, 7 o'clock, budget workshop. December 12th, regular meeting. December 14th, budget workshop. December 19th is an open budget date. All of these are posted meetings, and they all will occur here in the Moose Hill Conference Room. And Mark, you are a designee because Nate left the room. And I see a stack of newspapers down at the end. So Michael, our student council representative.
I bring gifts. So, this is actually the second one. I missed the first one, but I bring newspapers for everybody. They had some interesting articles. One that I thought was particularly interesting. There's actually a student on the first page, Londonderry's New Kid in School. A student actually went to another school, 2 other schools, and said they were a new student. I believe it was from Massachusetts, Connecticut. There we go. They said they were from Connecticut, and they were seeing the effects of what it's like to be a new student in some of these schools and what happens. And that article seemed pretty interesting. The rest of it was very good. I highly recommend it. I didn't write anything, but other notes, the kneecap testing was Tuesday the 14th to Wednesday the 15th for the high school juniors. That seemed to go fairly well. The juniors only out a couple periods, and they came back to class. Waterville went very well. We sent about 18 students from the student council to, it's the state's winter conference for student councils. We had a guest speaker, Ed Garrity. He's actually a native of New Hampshire, and he said he's so far spoken in all 50 states, which was an accomplishment. He went over, like what to do, how to become a better person, things like that. There was also another guest speaker, Clem Dugan, who gave a couple of, it's escaping me, telling people things. Yeah. So, that was fun. We had parent conferences Friday, November 17th. We brought tea carts also to all the teachers with coffee, and they seemed to be very thrilled. The conferences seemed to go very well. No parents got lost. We had plenty of people to help get around to the rooms. And we also helped to push the art cards. I know Miss Johnson was in here a couple months ago asking for some help, and that was also going very well. We were able to sell them. We've been selling them to help at a couple other school events. I know the the unveiling of the North School edition. We were able to sell a lot of those, and it's helping the art department out a lot, and we're thankful for that. The band was able to make 3 holiday parades over the vacation. They went to Derry, Salem, and Haverhill, and they're looking forward to one more next week in Merrimack. And finally, the big thing for this month, I think, and it's next week, Monday through Friday, we're having a canned food drive, which is really to push the food drive for the holiday season. It was supposed to be, well, we were thinking about Thanksgiving, but we decided that Christmas would be a more needed time. This directly affects the people of Londonderry. It doesn't go out to the whole state. We collected last year approximately 10,000 canned good items. To compare that, we have Goffstown, which collected approximately 36,000 cans. So we're looking to do better, but we've done very well for ourselves, we think. We're asking that the parents, help out and send whatever cans they can. Also, they've decided that this year, if you bring in $1 equals 2 cans. They'll be collected C period during class, and there's announcements running this week. And for next week, there's going to be a little prize, sort of, for the winning class who brings in the most cans. There'll also be some ads on 2 of the Londonderry channels, I believe. I don't know which ones, 2 out of the 3, but and that is it for Student Council. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Lozak.
Good evening. I have news from South School. Diane Moran, who's a 3rd grade teacher at South, was contacted last year by Tyler Gagnon, a former student of hers, and he's now a senior at Londonderry High School. And part of his college application process required him to do a community service piece. And he asked if she would help him, and he arranged for her class to participate in the Walk New Hampshire program. The class was very excited to do this, and Tyler was able to get pedometers from Anthem Blue Cross. The children, the assistants, and Mrs. Moran were successful in completing the 190 miles. It was done in groups of 3 to 4 children, and collectively each group had to walk the 190-mile goal. Hopefully the children will continue to walk. They'll submit a form to the state, and they should receive a patch that says, "I Walk New Hampshire." Also at South School, the PE department is running a cup stacking club for 4th and 5th grade students every Wednesday from 3:15 to 4:20 in the gym from October through February. Cup stacking is also known as sports stacking. You might have seen this on TV. It's an exciting individual and team sport that promotes eye-hand coordination, teamwork, positive self-esteem, and is not limited to age, gender, or ability. Students learn to focus and concentrate as they use both hands, enhancing reaction time and coordination. And the process involves up-stacking and down-stacking a set of 12 specially designed high-performance cups called speed stacks into predetermined sequences to form pyramids. What's even more amazing is that there are world records for the sport. And what makes sport stacking so exciting to do and fascinating to watch is the lightning speed with which the kids learn to perform this skill. And the PE department would like to invite the school board members to drop by to see the students engaged in having fun in this exciting program. Also at South School, the Drama Club is holding auditions for their production of Peter Pan. There are over 100 4th and 5th graders involved, and this is their 4th year of production. Lots of enthusiasm for that activity. Matthew Thornton Celebrity Reader Day was held on November 16th. There were close to 90 celebrities that took time out of their busy schedules to share books with the students. Thanks to all who participated. The kids really enjoyed it. Matthew Thornton Winter Concert will be next Tuesday at the middle school at night, and the kids will also perform for their peers during the day. On Halloween, the high school Spanish department welcomed Mexican mask maker Juan Horta and his apprentice son. The day was spent creating a mask from block of wood, and all Spanish students from Spanish 1 right up through AP Spanish were able to spend their Spanish class period watching Senor Horta, and were excited to be able to listen to and communicate with a native speaker. The presentation was done in Spanish, and he spoke slowly so the kids could understand him. And I guess from some of the feedback, a lot of the kids were really surprised that they could understand him. Feedback from staff and students was very positive, and it was a valuable cultural experience for the students, and it was amazing to watch Juan transform a block of wood into a piece of art before their eyes. What the students and staff liked the most was when he spoke with and interacted with the students and asked them questions in Spanish. The facilitator from sponsor Margarita's Restaurants did a good job using Spanish and English, so the students were able to understand everything. It was also appreciated that the students were allowed to touch, handle, and examine the masks and other items that were on display, And there were also some carvings that could be purchased for a nominal fee. And at the end of the day, the mask was left at the high school, and at some point it will be put on display. From the middle school is having their annual winter holiday concert on Saturday, December 9th. Begins at 9 in the morning and runs through 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All performing groups will participate, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade bands, choruses, orchestra, and the select chorus, and everyone is welcome, of course. LMS faculty book clubs are going very well. They have just met on their second reading to discuss reading strategies, and teachers and administration have shared wonderful stories about both personal reading and teaching reading experiences. 2 authors and illustrators have come to visit teams to discuss the writing process. Brown Center visits are this week, with 6th grade teams spending a day team building day up at UNH. And they've also had 2 great math nights up at Barnes & Noble, where each 6th grade team was invited with their families to play math games for the evening, games of strategy and logic, and even challenge the adults. And that's all my news for tonight.
Thank you. George?
Thank you, Steve. Actually, my work schedule has precluded me from attending the 2 meetings that I was supposed to this week. However, I will defer to both you and Ron to cover those, so that's all I've got. How's that for quick?
It was good. Paul?
Pat mentioned celebrity reading. I always enjoy going to that so much, and I understand that every single class and every single grade had a reader.
I believe they had 3. Each class had 3.
Every class had 3, so that's just terrific. Says a lot about the community and that everybody likes to be told a story. The PTA met in the last couple of weeks, and I forget the teacher's name, but he had started a boys' book club. There's already a girls' book club, and that seems like it's off to a good start. And they also accepted the new PTO's bylaws. And the Wellness Committee met last week and did some more brainstorming. Our second meeting, we'll be meeting again in January, and we'll probably break things down into smaller groups and working sessions to start looking at the categories of nutritional education and physical activity and nutrition itself at the schools.
Thank you. Ron?
The Technology Committee met a couple of weeks ago, and basically, we discussed about the presentation for the lease and what items were going to be in the lease on there, and we'll be getting into that into greater detail in the next couple of weeks.
Dan?
Basically, I've just been going to town council meetings, and I was fortunate enough to get a parking space with all the hunters and smokers there. But, most of the discussion's been centered around the budget. So, LEAP PTA, I was unable to attend, but Bonnie was kind enough to provide me with the minutes. And 2 things of interest that I always wondered, but the scarecrows that Max has always been kind enough to allow people to put out. Max this year donated, I think it was over $800 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation from that. So the money that everybody throws the pennies and nickels and dimes in certainly goes to a good cause. And I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but Matthew Thornton has their annual Santa Day, December 2nd, isn't it, Carol? Breakfast with Santa? 8:30 to 11. So, thank you, Bonnie.
The 2 items I'd like to address, I did attend the Communications Committee meeting. We actually talked about the possibility of having it meet every other month versus every month. As the initial intent of that has been fulfilled. We did talk about a number of things, including reverse 911 or other methods to contact parents. And we also targeted a concept of better communications to the schools, to the administration, to the teachers, because we have done a good job of communicating outward to the community. Nate brought up a figure earlier this evening on the budget, and I was approached by a few citizens who appeared to prefer to remain anonymous. But when they read the articles in the newspaper about the $3.5 million that extra that we would be getting from the state, they wanted to make sure that we returned that money to them. I don't think they wanted all of it, but they wanted their share of it. Not a bad concept at all. However, I do think we need to remember how this process works. And we still have a situation where the voters, will spend the next 2 months creating the budget, and the voters will vote on it in March. Unfortunately, when the voters vote on it in March, the state still hasn't decided how much money they will give us yet. And this is their normal operating practice. There was an interesting article this weekend in the Sunday News, the union leader, Sunday News by Tom Fahey, and he interviewed Fred King, and he looked over the education budget, and I believe the most impressive thing that he had to say was that he looked at the amount the education department would be giving, and he recommended that the superintendents not go putting that money in their pockets right yet. So I think we do need to be aware of that fact as we plan the budget. We have taken the number that they've given us and worked that in of the $15.3 million, but what they end up with their spreadsheet this year, we're really not sure yet, although we do hope that the representatives that are seated will come up with a solution before the end of the June. We would appreciate that. I have a question for the board that comes from the classroom, which I don't often get the opportunity to attend. I did go to your fourth grade class, George. I just wanted to thank you for offering that to me. That was absolutely a great time. And the interesting thing is the fourth grade class, I allow them to pick the books, and they picked the same book out that the first grade class picked, which was good because I had it memorized by that point. But I do have a question that came back from the board. The first grade class was Mrs. Dolan's class, and they were extremely disappointed when I came in the room. They somehow were under the impression that they were going to have the superintendent that day. And then they found out that I was his boss. So there was a young boy who was very serious and asked me a question very sternly, and he wanted an answer. And as a typical politician, I told him I couldn't give him an answer, but I would certainly address his issue. And to the board, I'd just like to know if anyone would like to address the issue this evening, and this was his question. It was simply, he would like to know why he doesn't have enough time to eat his lunch and eat his snacks during snack time.
Well, I guess the question is, how much food does he bring? You know, this is a math issue.
I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to be politically incorrect, but he was not a very large boy.
You know, those smaller people win the hot dog contest at Naples.
Japanese guy.
That's about all I got to say.
8300.
So I'll take back a note to Mrs. Dolan and indicate to her that our students should begin training for hot dog eating contests.
At Nathan's.
I just want to say, that was never an issue when I was a man.
Jim helped him meet those goals.
But it was, and he listened to the whole story, and frankly, I was just amazed at how polite the students, both in first and fourth grade, were. Just absolute charm, and listened for over an hour. Amazing. Superintendent's report. It looks like we'll be jumping to the Dibbles.
Yes. Mr. Blunt.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Steve. Tonight I am presenting to you some observations of the Dibbles data over the last couple of years. This is the start of our third year of using Dibbles. Our first year that we administered at K through 3 was in the 2004-05 school year, and we're now starting our third year. In the coming weeks, what I'd like to present to the board is the following data per your request in lieu of the benchmark monitoring. We will be bringing you in the coming weeks data on the writing prompts, data on our math curriculum. We will also be providing you some information on the core reading pilot and the unit benchmark assessment. So those pieces will be coming to you in the coming weeks. But tonight I'd just like to share with you information on the DIBELS. And in your packet I did provide you a description of the terms that's used on the DIBELS. I gave you data of all of the elementary reading results from 2004-05 to the present. Consecutive grade results, as well as consecutive grade graphs that we will take a look at this evening. I'd like to start with letter naming fluency and phoneme segmentation fluency, and I'll just read what I reported to you in your handout. During the baseline year, the class of 2017 showed a decline in letter naming fluency and phoneme segmentation during our baseline year, from grade K to grade 1. During the summer of 2005, the district offered a summer school program focusing on math and reading skills, but only to exiting grades 1 through 5. That was our first year in offering the program. With the following year's class, there's evidence to support that teachers became more familiar with the DIBELS benchmark assessments and their use in adjusting instruction to meet the academic needs of individual students. In addition, the district introduced in the summer of '06, this past summer, an exiting K summer school coupled with summer library support, as well as an additional month of instruction in the fall prior to benchmark assessments. As a result, the class of 2018 maintained retention in letter naming fluency and phoneme segmentation fluency. So the first chart you see up there is letter naming fluency, and if you see the consecutive grades, class of 2017, that was basically our baseline year. Followed in the following year, the class of 2018, we did make a slight gain with that cohort group, moving from 80 to 83% in letter naming fluency. And for those of you, letter naming fluency is basically the identification of upper and lowercase letters. They're given randomly, and students have a certain amount of time in which to correctly identify those letters. The next slide is phoneme segmentation fluency. And again, our baseline year, we did have that dip, but during the subsequent year, we have seen a slight uptick. I would say this is pretty much flat. We did extend by a month our testing. It's still within the norming period, but there has been some growth there that I wanted to show you. And phoneme segmentation fluency is basically if you use if the teacher is pronouncing the word sat, the student responds in correctly sounding out the word. So sat. So the next area that's part of DIBELS is nonsense word fluency. While a difficult task for kindergartners, the class of 2017 students identified low risk increased from 58% to 62%, a gain of 4% in nonsense word fluency. In the following year, the class of 2018 made significant gains from the end of K to the beginning of grade 1 in nonsense word fluency. The introduction of the exiting K summer school or entering first grade summer school, our summer library support, as well as an additional month of instruction in the fall prior to benchmark assessments, allowed a gain of 17% of students identified as low risk. So it went from 68% to 85%. The last area on the DIBELS assessments are oral reading fluency. Like the other results that we've provided you this evening, the class of 2016 and the class of 2015 both showed declines in that initial year. In the following year's classes, the class of 2016 and 2017 made 6 to 9% gains respectively of students identified as low risk in oral reading fluency. We believe the introduction of pre and post assessments in the summer school program, the summer library support services, as well as the additional month of instruction in the fall prior to benchmark assessments allowed for this growth. So I'll open it up to any questions that the board members may have. I think basically the overall results are positive. I think teachers have become familiar in the use of the DIBELS measures. Again, I want to caution the community at home as well as the board members that this is just one measure that we use in the overall assessing of our students. We use a variety of assessments, but this is one indicator that we use to measure how students are performing over time. And I think we've definitely seen some growth in these first couple of years of the DIBELS use.
Dan had a question?
Hey, Mark, in each of the three categories you used as one of your explanations relative to substantiating the growth between the base period and the class of 2018, one additional month of instruction in the fall.
What
did we change there?
Well, what we changed was when our first 2 years of using the DIBELS measures, we K1 and 2 and 3 basically they were assessed at the end of September. Kindergarten still benchmark assesses at the end of September, early October. We moved 1, 2, and 3 to the end of October, early November to basically coincide with the trimesters. Additionally, I wanted to add, Dan, that the teachers and the elementary administration, they basically use the spring DIBELS results to set up the schedule for the 3-tier model. So they thought it made a little bit more sense that we go through that first trimester using the spring data as one of the pieces, and then waiting until the end of the first trimester to do the benchmark assessment again. So then that would allow for adjustments on where those kids would go in the tiers.
So if I could, just one follow-up on that, Steve. So that said, would I expect if we did the DIBELS and the assessment in the third month, I'd see even more improved results? So
You likely would, but
so this is part of that growth is not a real fair comparison between the base year.
not quite. We still are within the norming period. Had we gone beyond November, we would have had to change to a different
I guess
norms.
not being an educator, it makes sense to me not to. I don't know why we did it in the first month anyhow. I mean, kids are still kindergartens, first graders still kind of getting acclimated to the school. So, okay. Thank you. I was just curious what that meant. Now I understand. Thanks.
Paul, then Ron.
Mark, at the kindergarten level, looking at initial sound fluency and letter naming fluency within the respective years, looking at fall to midwinter or fall to spring. It looks like in those two categories, 2 years in a row, there were declines. Am I reading that right? And is that something
Yes,
to
you
be
are.
concerned about?
You are reading that correctly. And maybe I would defer that to Bonnie or Rich to answer that more fully.
For both the letter naming and the initial sound fluency, the benchmark jumps dramatically from the fall benchmark assessment to the January benchmark assessment. And we find the children just can't make that. It's basically a quantum leap for the children. The expectations are very low for the fall. It's like an 8 or 9. It's a single digit where it jumps to 21 and 27 for the January. But we find that come the spring, they're back to where they need to be for reading readiness. So I think the teachers are learning also more from last year to this year, what the expectations are for the DIBELS assessments, what they need to alter in their literacy instruction, and we're finding we need to do more with initial sound fluency towards the beginning of the year, which was not part of the core reading program that we had. So we're making adjustments to the core reading program.
The benchmarks you mentioned, are those our internally developed benchmarks?
The benchmarks for the DIBELS assessments.
They come with the assessment?
Right, there's a target. There's a target for where they feel children should be that are considered low risk. That's the target number.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we're somewhat a prisoner of how they gauge those.
For this particular assessment, yes.
Okay, so I guess we're making our own kind of internal recalibration that's not necessarily, when we see that data, those statistics at the end of the year, mid-year, a problem since the students seem to be skill level at where we feel they in general need to be.
What we find with our assessments that we do for report cards, which are not timed, the children can identify letters, can know the sounds. It's when you put that timed piece in where the kindergartens are having difficulty, and that's the piece we're adjusting to.
Okay, and that's not, is there any need to, you feel, to react to that somehow, or do you just accept that and expect that this will be a situation that will continue?
I think we have reacted to it. We've made adjustments to the curriculum. We've shifted things into the fall semester that we didn't do until the second trimester. So we've made some adjustments that way. We should see some improvements.
Okay, thank you.
I think, to pick up on that, I think one of the items that you'll obviously see as we go through the budget is an attempt on our part to increase the amount of instructional time kindergarten level through having an additional half of person there. So what will, because we really have a half of an instructional day, if you want to call it 2.5 hours, by putting in the half of the educational support person, which is a reading person, we believe we're going to be able to increase the amount of instructional time for our lower tier youngsters. So using a 3-tier model at the kindergarten, similar to what we're using at the other elementary schools, we believe the addition of this person is going to allow us to provide increased instruction for those hard-hit kids, and because the teacher would be working with those youngsters, it will also provide an opportunity to provide more instructional time for the kids in the other teachers. So if we continue with the concept of prevention, intervention, and recapturing, which is kind of the theme that we've used for dropouts, that looking at the kindergarten level, prevention is one of the things that we want to put in place. So we'll discuss that at some greater depth when we hit budget. Although Bonnie didn't get all she asked for, she got some.
Thank you, Bonnie. Ron?
Mark, in your letter, I'd like you to expand on this for the public. You say, you talk about the children making strong academic growth, and then you talk about primary teachers have increasingly used the Dibbles data to adjust instruction to meet the academic needs of their students. Can you expand on that to show, we see graphs up here, and that, that kind of shows something, but I think in my mind, the more important part of this, that it's used to change what we're teaching in the classroom, depending on the makeup of the classroom and the children in there. And I think that should be brought out to the public.
Well, basically, when teachers at K through 3, when they administer the benchmark assessments, once that data is entered into the Dibbles data system, they get back a report basically on every single child that they have in their classroom. It basically gives them, it gives them a range of where kids are at, whether they're tier 1, a low risk student, they're on track in that particular area, whether they need some supports or whether they need significant supports. So all of that data is there for them. They're able to use that data to adjust their instruction in early literacy for children to improve those skill areas or those skill deficits. So that's where we bring into play such people as our reading specialists if they're in tier 2, our special educators working in conjunction with our classroom teachers and our reading teachers in the tier 3 setting. I hope I'm going in the right direction, Ron, on that.
And I think in addition to that is that perhaps sometimes in the past, if you didn't have that information, you then just continued to go on. This allows teachers to change and say, oh, I've got a group of kids that didn't get this, so I'm
Right.
going to go back and work with them on that particular skill. So rather than leaving a skill gap, if you will, and moving on, teachers go back, reteach it, reinforce it so the kids get to master that particular skill. So whether it means particular small group instruction with these youngsters, reframing the way in which the information was presented before, providing additional support, in a sense, going back and using different material to get at the same skill to improve that youngster's particular skill weakness, that's what the teachers are doing, so that they're able to adjust it. And what I think is really good about the data we get back is that it's not, you don't have to just say, well, everybody in the class has to get it. It's this group of youngsters I know are having difficulty with this particular group of skills, so I'll work with those kids to get it. Somebody else will work with these kids or I'll adjust it. So I think using that information, I think, puts us at a significant advantage in the long term. And I think the teachers have found that to be helpful, having that data come back and then being able to use it. And I think what my experience has been, particularly with our experienced staff, what this data tends to show is it confirms what the teachers know anecdotally and what they've picked up on in formal evaluation and say, okay, yeah, I thought that's what it is, and now I'm going to be able to go back and do it.
Well, in addition to the timely data too, Ron, kids that need additional supports, we also progress monitor through Dibbles once a month, in addition to the 3 times a year for kids that need additional support, those in tier 2, and those that need significant support, we progress monitor twice per month. So we're continually monitoring and tracking growth. It gives professional staff timely information in which to adjust their instruction. So it's been very helpful in that regard.
Thank you.
Just one other thing too, if I can mention, I think one of the things that research has showed is that kids tend, unless youngsters have reading kinds of activities during the summer, when they come back, they tend to lost several, if you want to use that term, several months of reading gain, if you will. And that can become cumulative over time. And I think the fact that we put in summer programs for youngsters going from kindergarten to first, and also the elementary summer programs, I think are beginning to be reflected in the scores that we're seeing, in that you're not having the kids backtrack, that they're being able to maintain or losing less than are being able to continue to move on. And I think that's a help. And I think what it does in the long term too, and I'm sure Pat will support me on this, if the kids come in and haven't lost that much, that's less stuff that you have to do to repeat, to review and refresh the youngsters, and therefore builds in more time to begin to move ahead and move your instruction ahead. So that investment of time in the summer, whether it's in a formal basis with our summer school or whether it's parents reading to kids and keeping them engaged in skills, really creates additional instructional time. Because you think of it this way, if a kid loses 1 to 2 months of reading skills, I'm just using this as an example, every year between kindergarten and 6th grade, that's a whole year of instruction that has been lost in review. You know what I mean? So that investment in the summer, I think, has significant long-term positive effects. Because if it's a lost month or two here and first, a lost month or two, and you have to review stuff that you wouldn't have to ordinarily, then you can move ahead, as opposed to reviewing and reflecting. So that's, when I said before, prevention, that's part of what that is allowing that to happen in remediation so that you, in fact, increase the amount of time that you can spend in instruction and move ahead.
One of the observations that we've noted between our first and second year and our second going into our third year is the retention has improved during that 2 to 3 month summer span. We've actually, students are coming in better prepared at the K through 3 level, or at least at the 1, 2, 3 level. And I think I would attribute it to, our summer program obviously has been a benefit because we're hitting those students that are most at risk. I think by adding the pre and post assessments weekly in our summer program certainly helped in reading. The summer library support, the librarian and the book bag promotion that we had, I think, this past year enhances that joy of reading. And I just think in general, teachers are utilizing the data more effectively to adjust their instruction in the classroom. So all in all, I think we've seen some nice improvement.
Mark, let's see how I can phrase this one. I believe that we made a lot of progress. Okay. Question I have, if I was a doubting Thomas, and I would ask the question, okay, Mr. Assistant Superintendent, before we did all this, we spent all this money and did all these programs, how were we doing before we implemented this, and how are we doing now? Show me growth. Can that be done? Can you show something, not the class that's been through this, compare it to, I'm going to pick a year, 02, 03 compared to 05, 06, and say, you see, we're seeing some growth there. As we ask the community for more and more money and we get the budget, we say we're implementing the Dibbles program, we're implementing the summer school program, we're implementing this program to improve the literacy and the math skills of the children. The question comes up is it really making a difference? And how can we show something like that? And you don't have to give me the answer now, but it's just a question is, can we show something like that before we implemented the 3-tier reading program? And all those programs do cost dollars as we put into effect. So I don't know if it can be done or not, but I think it would be a good item to show the community that it has made a difference in the math and the literacy at the elementary levels, and that's where a lot of this has been done.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I'm going to jumble the agenda around a little bit. I'm going to go to deliberation on the band trip to New York City on St. Patrick's Day. And, unless it said round trip to New York City on St. Patrick's Day. And you had I was reading in the paper, a student, Ross Daly, who was just awarded
Ross Daly?
Ross
Yes,
Daly, trombone.
Ross Daly is a star. He's a junior trombone player, top scorer last year, top scorer this year in jazz and regular All-State, jazz All-State, regular All-State. And he will be representing Londonderry High School at the All-Eastern Conference in Hartford, Connecticut in March. And the interesting thing about All-Eastern, it's held every other year. Only 18 people from New Hampshire are selected and have been selected this time around. Only 2 in jazz, I believe, and he's from Londonderry. So it's great. We didn't have anyone 2 years ago. We did 4 years ago, and so when we get him, it's really a neat thing. So we're very, very proud of him.
Great.
And he's only a junior. Fantastic. We've been going to New York City since 1996. So this is every year except for one. We didn't go in 2003 because we had the Rose Bowl coming up that year. So we just had to cut a few things. So that was one of them we cut. So we'd like to return, and March 17th, 2007, for our 11th time. And we're very excited about marching up Fifth Avenue again. The students will leave on Friday. It's a teacher workshop day, so they are not missing classes. They will see Lion King on Broadway that evening, and next day march in a parade, and then we have an outing planned for them that night, and they'll tour New York City on Sunday morning before returning home. So that is a 3-day, 2-night package for the kids, and so we hope that's okay with everyone. We would like to return. We took first place last year in New York City, and the year before, and so I'm not bringing back any promises, but that's just it's a bonus. It's a layer of frosting, and it's very educational. It's really great, and it's only about 250 miles away, I guess. And if anyone has any questions.
Questions from the board? Andy, I think I'm watching a little too much of the Food Channel, but The Secret Life of the Lancer Band, for those that don't know, you can actually watch this parade on the internet on the New York City street cameras. Right. And you can, if you're quick enough, you can keep up with the band and catch them on the next camera.
If you go to our website, Londonderry, www.lancermusic.org, and there are several links. I think there are a couple different links on that day that our webmaster has put up. You can just catch it and see us go through different parts of the city, different parts of the parade. It's pretty cool what they can do. So.
Your motion?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the band trip to New York City for St. Patrick's Day.
Second.
We have a motion from Ron and a second from George. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you once again for your support.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Moving back to the student management system.
Yes. In your packet is a memo that I presented by Greenberg. In addition to the memo I wrote, was a fact-finding or final result of a meeting held between Karen Rule, who's the consultant from MRI, and the focus group regarding this search for a possible new student information system, as well as the RFP that was developed, and the standard tech template. I think Nate wanted me to kind of give an FYI on the student information system as we begin the budget process. As was mentioned, this funding request of $230,000 is in the FY08 capital lease. The reason for this request and to deliberate this at the budget hearing is that if there's two things that the focus group will all agree on, is that the current program, the Win School, which is written on old 16-bit technology we've had in the district for several years now, and although in the past it has served us well, it has outlived its life at the Londonderry School District. We all agree that the Win School program simply cannot handle the needs or the demands of the administration in regards to student information needs. In addition, the high school and middle school are running what's called a hybrid system. What that is the main function or the daily tasks are in the Win School that I just mentioned, and then that information is replicated on a daily basis to SMS, which is a web-based program, It is the latest version of the Chancery product, and it is the product that the elementary schools are using. So what we have is currently the elementary schools in Moose Hill running on what's called SMS, Student Management System, a web-based technology from Chancery. And then the middle and high school using the old Win School program, basically. And as I said, migrating the data up to the main database, SMS. We feel that this is a critical point to discuss where we need to go or where we should go as far as providing the critical database services. That's really the reason that is being presented or presented in the budget and discussed during the upcoming weeks. Just for those of you who don't fully understand the student management system, the student management program is the housing for all student, family, and personal records, student information records, student grades, attendance, discipline records, enrollment, and assessment and test scores. So just to name a few of the records or retention that the student information system contains. It is probably along with Munis, the two largest administrative programs that are run district-wide. We felt it was appropriate and actually responsible that before we simply move or discuss to the board moving to the SMS program for the middle and high school, that we take a step back and evaluate all the options and the appropriate programs that may be available out there that could or would meet the Londonderry School District needs. There are enough issues, I think, with the current system that would warrant a full investigation and thus the development of an RFP to invite other vendors to see what their programs do, to see how they would meet and match the needs of the Londonderry School District. And then we would recommend somewhere on the March timeframe, a proposal or a recommendation from the focus group to the school board of what the focus group thinks is the best path or recommendation for the SIS long-term needs of the school district. The $230,000 that's in the capital lease is a budget number. It is based on recommendation of $35 to $40 per student cost for the program. That is the best number we can provide for you at this time. As we go through the proposal submitted by the vendors, before the budget is finally approved, we might be able to hone in on a more accurate number, but that's probably the best number that we can give you this early in the time frame. I did want to caution, I mentioned in my memo, that whichever way we go, whether we agree to move to SMS or the Chancery product at the middle and high school, or purchase a whole new system, I want to make it clear that we would not open the schools this coming September 2007 with the new product. It takes a full year to implement the scheduling module, so we would be opening September 2008 with whatever recommendation comes forth from the focus group. Any questions? I don't know how detailed we want to get into this today.
Questions from the board?
Yes, Peter's got the right question. I mean, how detailed into this do we want to get? Because I think some of the things, Peter, as we go forward, I like the approach of going ahead and really analyzing this. I'm not sure I want to put $230,000 into the budget based on what may occur. Based on the information I've got here that you guys have provided, and just looking at the tech template, and I appreciate you using that, thank you. It certainly lays everything out. I'm not convinced that we can't stay with what we've got. I think that's what you guys need to figure out between now and March is why that is. So it may be premature putting money into the budget for that. Couple of things that I'm going to look for if you're going to want me to support 230 or more is you make a statement that whatever decision the outcome, we no longer have to support two programs.
Yes.
Show me how much it costs us to support those two programs now.
Okay.
because there may be savings there. I'd want to know the costs of, associated with that support. The other thing is I'm not seeing any financial benefits outlined here. I know there's going to be time that the administrators spend that they may no longer have to spend. That's a cost avoidance. I don't see any of that here. What I do see is, the statements that, we think it'll help, or I'm confident that it'll help, but there's really no hard facts there. So I'm going to need to see some of that before I'm going to be able to support that kind of money. One of the things that I am just curious about is on page 7 of the report, one of the recommendations, the district is also urged to consider the benefits of adding one position, plus assigning team members. So am I to assume that in FY09 or FY10, you guys are going to be looking to add a position to support this product? I'm going to, looking down the road, that's going to be one of the things I'm going to look to see. And that's about it, I think, now, so.
Just want to respond to a couple of things, and again, I don't know how deep you want to get. The beauty of putting the $230,000 into the lease is that, as we mentioned earlier, there is no effect on the FY 208 budget. And the other part of that is, if we did decide that staying with the Chauncey product is the best solution, what in the lease, because we borrow in arrears, we just wouldn't borrow or float a note for the $230,000. We would float a note for whatever, the $400,000. So the reason why, the beauty of the lease is that obviously it's a large number and you'd want to capitalize it over a couple of years anyways. But also, if we did decide in March that the best way or the best path is to stay where we got, upgrade the Chauncey product, we simply wouldn't float a note for $230,000. So there's no impact on the budget. The taxpayers are not being asked to pay upfront the impact of $230,000. The problem with, I hope that answers the budget or the budget impact question. The real issue with the two platforms is really the crux of the issue is staying with the Win School program. The Win School program, as I mentioned, is old technology. It was really written for a single user platform. And that product, if there's one thing the focus group all agree on, you cannot stay at the middle and high school with Win School. So the two alternatives that we have as a focus group is either move or upgrade to the SMS Chauncey product, or purchase a whole new program. We can't stay with the situation that we have. It's become too, Win School has become too cumbersome. It was not designed to handle the complexities that we have in the scheduling of the high school. So it's not really a financial issue. It's a software matching needs and requirements of using a student information system. There are some cost advantages, and I'll do the best we can for the December 14th meeting to show what some of the issues are with the Win School product.
Great. Ron and then Dan.
Peter, you said September 2008.
Yes.
It would be implemented. When would be the first time you use it?
I would say the first time you would use it would be January of 2008, because the reason why you're doing it in September is you would buy, if we were to buy a whole new product X, what you do is you'd be running with the current platforms you have now, completing the school year in June of 2008. And in January of 2008, you would use the new product to schedule the classes for the high school and middle school. You'd have training going on before that, but to answer your question, when would you use it? You would use it for the first time, I'm saying January, it could be a little earlier. You'd use it January to start scheduling at the middle and high schools. And so you'd finish out the year, the daily tasks of the old program, and scheduling the classes. So at the end of the year, you'd then do another data dump or merge, and then probably the summer is when you really use it, and then open schools in 2008.
Basically, in order to start the school in 2008, it has to be in this budget here that we're seeing. We couldn't wait a year. That's the
Right.
point I was bringing out. Okay, thank you.
Dan?
I just have one question on page 3, Peter. It's pertaining to the high school. I guess I'm a little concerned when we say we have to constantly scrutinize the data for accuracy. What does that really mean? So we're using it, but we have no confidence in the data at all? I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement.
What's happening is, at the middle and high school, you have the staff using the Win School, which is the old technology. It then replicates up into, I'll call it the mother database, SMS. That replication isn't always working. So we have to make sure that data that was entered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was replicated and received from the mother SMS database.
How do we do that?
We gotta go back and check what's called the transaction logs.
Who and how much time?
Tom will do it most of the time. The new person, Brandon, will also help out.
There are also two of the biggest areas, and Peter's right. The problem is, and the best analogy I can use is, it's like you own an old car, and the car still runs okay. It's doing the job, but you can't get parts for it.
Sure.
And you can't get repairmen who even know how to fix it anymore. So I guess that's what Win School is. Biggest problems arise when we're doing weighted grades, which now we do at the high school, which we didn't do when we first had Win School. Yep. And we're now running honor roll with weighted grades. This system, Win School, doesn't have the capability to do that automatically. So when we do it, we always have to hand check that. The other problem is ranking class and grade point average. Every time we run it, to be honest, Tom helps a lot with the technology end, but the guidance department basically individually goes through it one by one by one. A lot of it has to do with the replication, and the other part has to do it's such an old system that it doesn't do what high schools need to do in today's development of grades and weighted grades and grade point averages.
So you're telling me, Jim, that the guidance department each time, 4 or 5 times a year, goes through 1,600 records and individually does it?
They go through,
By hand?
You won't have to do that for the honor roll, okay?
But weighted grades and
for seniors.
class
So it's not
ranks.
1,600 because
Oh,
you
okay.
really are concerned about
400 or 500.
Yeah, the senior rank. But you do it at the end of
And
junior
weighted
year
grades.
and the first semester after senior
Wow.
year.
Okay.
I'll let the main factor from and I guess I won't say from an end user, Jim, well, actually, yeah, what else, an end user point of view. The main thing with Win School, as I mentioned, it was really built for a single user building. For example, it was really built when Jim was the principal of Matthew Thornton, that the principal at the single building would pretty much run the database and would do all the tasks, or maybe assistant principal. What's happened at the high school is, if Mike Dolphin, for example, and he's the main user of this program and wants to do what's called a master schedule change something in the master schedule module of Win School, they have to ensure and make multiple announcements throughout the building for everybody that's in Win School to get out. And then have to make sure everybody's out, and then that opens the door and allows Mike to do whatever changes he needs to make. It simply wasn't made to be a multi-user program where changes can be made in certain modules and people can still be doing their daily tasks. That's from a technology point of view, is the main reason that the focus group will say, we need to move off Win School and go to something.
I understand. I've been around, well, at least up here for 8 years, and Win School precedes me, so I would say it's at least 8 to 10 years old.
Actually, it was great from what we had before that, and I don't even remember the name of it, it was so long ago. When we got Win School in Carroll, I tell you, we were so excited. It worked great for us. We didn't waste our money on this program. The problem was when we needed to move out of it, we weren't comfortable in moving out to the product that we had. So we stayed with Win School, and we continue to stay with Win School. But now it's at the point where even I, who loves Win School, says and admits that we have to get out of Win School to something else. What that is what this whole document is about. But Winston is no longer working for the high school, probably no longer working for the middle school, but probably even greater at the high school level. I listen to Mr. Dolphin, who gets frustrated every day, and it's not anything other than the system can't do what we want it to do anymore. It worked great 10 years ago when we got it. It just doesn't do what we need to do anymore.
I'm all set.
Paul?
Jim, whatever we do, we're gonna have to do something. Just depends on what. Will there be some significant transition costs, time spent over the summer, what have you, to get up to whatever level we choose?
I don't think this summer. I think this summer we're going to be. Here's where I come from. You know, I'm thinking as a principal. You know, I don't really want to talk to the technology people. I don't want to really talk to all those people. What I want to do is when we narrow it down and we have a few choices that fit our needs, I want to talk to the principals. I want to talk to the people in the building running it. I want to visit those schools. I know Andy and Carol and Zach and Linda probably want to do the same thing. We want to talk to the people who are actually working with it every day. When we feel comfortable to come back as a group and say, this is the system we're looking for, then I think we could safely say it works in a situation similar to ours. You know, we're not looking at going to high school that has 300 kids. We're looking at systems similar to ours, districts similar to ours. Then the training will be involved. There will be training. Not only there will be training, there will be rollover. And Ron asked a question when we start. Probably as soon as we have it, we'll start thinking about how we're going to roll over the data. And then around January of 2008, we will begin the scheduling process at the high school and the middle school to schedule. And then full implementation will be July 1, 2008. That's when the whole system is turned over. But you're right, Ron, in order to do it, to start 2008, you know, we have to get it approved through this budget or through this lease. And I think this is a wise way of going because we're really not spending the money. We're putting a number in there. And if we choose to do nothing, which I hope is not the choice, we didn't really lose any money. We just didn't expend that money. So I think this is a safe way of going at it. As a principal, I can rest assured you we're going to find a program that works for the schools. And that's the most important thing.
Peter, you're at a point where the group is ready, pretty much ready to send out an RFP?
Yes.
And is the evaluation of other programs pretty much done, or is that an ongoing thing?
No, the RFP was just sent out a couple days ago.
Oh, that it's already on the street.
Just sent out. We will be gathering, obviously, those vendors that respond to the RFP. We will be evaluating, well, you know, their financial condition, you know, their support capabilities. We'll make an analysis to determine if the vendor has the ability to support us and has the financial resources to do this. And also, does the software meet a small amount of criteria? Then those appropriate vendors would be called in, and we do, I wouldn't say a full day, but certainly a good day, complete evaluation. The vendor comes in with the product on the screen. We go through the, you know, show us how to do this, show us how to do that. And we go through the whole, ask questions, so forth and so on. We'll probably narrow it down to two, hopefully no more than three vendors. As Jim mentioned, do site visits, you know, to school districts of our size and complexity, hopefully in our area. And then narrow it down to a recommendation somewhere in March, and hopefully receive you know, board approval to move forward. Again, whether that's simply to move up to the SMS product of Chauncey, which we have now, or to purchase XYZ company.
And the consultant's contract is ongoing?
The consultant's contract is in this FY07 budget, and the contract was within the $5,000 that was budgeted for this purpose.
And so she's still...
Yeah, she will be, pretty much, she is the person, just to remind everybody, she is the person that guided us and helped us, assisted us through choosing the Munis financial package. She helped with our input, develop the RFP. She will work with myself and others to evaluate the vendors' responses, you know, financial and the product, how the product handles certain questions. She will be with us as we interview and grill all the vendors selected to come do a demo. I'm not sure she'll join site visits with us, that's pretty much on her own. But she will provide all the feedback and assist us on guiding us to making an appropriate decision as she did for Munis.
Brian?
Real quick, if Phase 1 is complete, can the board get a copy of what the results of Phase 1 were?
Yeah.
I have one question, and then I'd like to just give input, and I don't need answers on any of it. In the request for proposal, page 1, or the page prior to page 2, an empty spreadsheet for Munis. What is the purpose of this?
Don't know. I don't know, I don't know if that got in there. I don't know. I think that's either a mistake or that was the old one that we might have used. I'll check on that.
All right, thanks.
It looks like the one that we used when we did the financial,
Just comments on this, on the upside, I think that the community needs to remember we do have 5,600 students that we work with on a daily basis in our school system, and that is a large number of individuals. The consultant's report talks about a number of things that are in question, and that is cost of people, cost of support, cost of this software. Many of the board members have talked about that tonight. This is in my opinion, extremely large number at $230,000. One of the things I noticed is that the report talked nearly on every page, if not twice a page, per page, about the involvement of an IT director, which we have none at this time, and how critical it is that this person be involved in the process. I think that to spend $230,000 without someone with an IT management experience taking a look at it, I know it'll certainly be part of an interview process for me on how to ask them how they would handle this type of investment. The other thing to consider is there were two people that spoke tonight about the $230,000 lease having no effect on the 2008 budget. To that point, I, like many people even in this room or many homeowners in town, take advantage of programs that are available where you can get the money now or get the materials from the large hardware store now and then pay for them in some future year. We have a little nickname for them in my home, and we call them time bombs. So we're always off there spending that money in the next year and no payments till January 2007. And as long as you make sure you pay that time bomb, because if you're one day late, it could be quite a bit of money. What I'm referring to here is I think we need to be careful about statements that the lease has no effect on the 2008 budget. It would be future money. It would be, it's okay that we're not using the software because these are funds that are in a lease and they're spread out over 3 years. I personally plan on being in this community for quite some time, and I think that I'll end up paying in my tax bill for this. I think we need to take that into an account with the citizens and spend their money very carefully, whether it's this year's budget or whether we're encumbering future boards with a contract of $230,000 or whatever that number might be that you guys come up with. So I would just keep those in mind as you continue to gather data and make further presentations. Thank you, Nate. The next item is deliberation on the capital lease interest rate.
Yes. We, as I mentioned it in the memo, in previous years, we had Citizens Bank do a search for us, so to speak, on the capital lease. 9 out of 10 times, they would come back with the company from Kansas, Baystone. This year, we did that, and then we decided to go out on our own a little bit, and we solicited bids from TD Bank North and a bank called Ocean. And I'm happy to ask the board to approve the interest rate of 4.31% from TD Bank North for a FY07 3-year agreement.
Questions from the board, Ron?
No questions on this one. I have a question afterward.
Need a motion?
Sure.
I move we accept the TD Bank North interest rate of 0.31 for the 07 approved capital lease.
Second.
We have a first from Paul and a second from Ron. Discussion? The only question I have, you went out to 3 organizations. You got a bid from 3 organizations. The group that we do our normal governmental banking business with.
Citizens.
This isn't something that they're interested in at all?
No, they have always sublet this out or farmed this out to either Bay Bank, Baystone, or they do, there's a company, I can't remember the name of it now, LaSalle in Chicago. They wouldn't, and then I think it's because of the size, wouldn't don't normally bid on this type of arrangement. So in fact, they did, again, do Baystones, I mentioned, and we went out on our own and got 2 other bids.
And what's our bond rating?
Our bond rating now is AAA.
And you would expect to see rates like this for?
Well, usually Baystone, the last couple of years, was the lowest rate, so I was actually pretty surprised when I got, Baystone's actually the first one, and TD Bank North came in after us, so I was pretty surprised that we even had it actually, as I remember it indicates, pretty substantial lower, not just like, 0.01 or 0.02% down. Fairly good gap between what Baystone and what TD Bank North. I think TD Bank North, all honesty, is trying to make inroads in the municipal / student, local school district market, be it, regular government banking group or in bonds, notes, and capital leasing. So this could be their way of trying to get in and get into the school district, or maybe, allow, trying to get inroads into that market and eat away some of the position that Citizens has on municipal and local government financing.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept TD Bank North at 4.31%, the 2007 approved capital lease. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Peter.
Question. Peter, I guess the question that kind of comes to mind for me is, if Citizens Bank was normally doing this for us, how come we had to come out and we came out with 2 rates lower than them? I commend you for going out there. Is going to Citizens Bank to go get the rates the wrong thing to do now?
No, I think, as I mentioned to Steve, I think what's happening is TD Bank North is trying to take some market share from Citizens in the municipal, local government arena.
Okay.
And so this is one way or one step, then possibly they could come back and talk to us about, general financial banking operations.
But I guess my question is, previous years, I think TD North Bank was on the list that was provided to us. They were absent from the list until you went and got them this year.
Right.
That's the part that's bothering me. The fact is that it could have been almost a 0.8 percentage a difference on this if you did not go out. And I'm questioning why Citizens didn't come up with these same rates as they have done in the past. I guess that's where I'm going. And I think that's a question to ask our banker on that, because
I'm certainly willing to.
it puts in question the validity of any other bids that they go out to do the marketing for, in my mind.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's how I'm looking at it right now.
I no problem to go back and kind of, you know, put them on the hot seat and ask them, but, you know,
I do want to take the opportunity, though, to commend Peter to go that extra
I
mile.
agree, I agree on that. I mean, it saved us a 0.8 percentage point on this.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right, get more work for it.
Yeah, and, you know, they could be buying business to build their portfolio, and we don't know the reasons, but,
no, it's certainly worth asking.
no, that's good, and we need to continue to be aggressive on all of our contracts, excluding pizza.
Oh, God.
Can we get a better rate on that? Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3C2.
Second.
We have first by Dan and second by Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
You came for the most important part.
The only way this is gonna work is if we sit. No, I was watching you guys on TV. Guys sit and say,
Three out of five.
If you're in this room, you're on the air.
you guys, this is who you're gonna contract with.
I could go through all the names that I have.
I can guarantee you, the county's not
The
willing.
willingness isn't there.
I mean, it turned into it. Oh, well, you
No, I
guys
know.
should-
Yeah. Someone mentioned that to me, they said, why? Around Christmas.